Pharisees are just lobbing one out at him to say, there you go, cobber, catch that one and see how you go. Because it's not an unlawful act. He wasn't breaking the law. So for them to promote it is that it's almost like a little barb that they're just trying to prod him with or hook him on.
It's worth reiterating that the Pharisees were really a reaction to the Roman occupation and this fear that, we may have to go into captivity again like we did before to Babylon. Pharisees were of the type that thought, why then are we continually suffering? Why is it that we're being taken away to captivity? And then when we come back, the Romans appear. What are we doing wrong? How are we displeasing the Lord? And they looked at the Mosaic laws, the 613. And also we have to bear in mind that the Sabbath has its genesis, literally, in Genesis, chapter 2, 2 and 3. And the Sabbath was established because God rested on the seventh day.
Yep.
And because they went to captivity, they thought, we must have broken that then. So when they came back, and Fruchtenbaum talks about this, the Pharisees ring-fenced all these laws by adding on more restrictions just in case they broke them. So going through a field and plucking off corn to them is labour, and you cannot work on the Sabbath day.
You're right, you can't. This is where the sort of distinction would then sort of come into play, because clearly for them, what they were doing unlawfully was, as you have quite rightly said, the plucking of the corn was viewed as work. And the line is very fine. An example would be, you could take an apple off the tree on the Sabbath and eat it. But what you couldn't do is collect wood for a fire that would then cook an apple in a pot and eat it, because that's work. But taking the apple off the tree is not work. And so this was that sort of fine line distinction. This is where the sort of argumentations would go on between the various schools. Now, bearing in mind that we had two main rabbinical schools of thought at the time of Jesus. We had the school of Hillel and the school of Shammai. The school of Shammai was much more rigid in its interpretation of the law. They would be much tighter. And the school of Hillel was much more liberal, but not liberal in the sense that we would understand liberal today, but much more liberal. And majority of cases, probably 7 out of 8 times that Jesus is drawing comparisons, 7 times he will always go with the school of Hillel. So Jesus is already flagged himself up as somebody who is a liberal interpreter of Scripture. He's been hit with this challenge, in effect, why are you working, which is that lawful act. And now he's got to riposte, he's got to answer back